Welcome to the Pulse podcast by the Power Broker Media Group. Before we welcome our guests, I want to just level set on what is happening. Based on our research, a boycott was sparked back in September by a community resident named Carlisa Wilson after she encountered disrespect by the owner of a store called SNAX Food Store and Gas Station, located at 1755 9th Street South. In addition, SNAX has Uhaul trucks for rent, which have also been included in the boycott due to the actions of the owner as well. Joining me today to discuss the boycott is Derek Cooper, Political Action Coordinator of the St. Petersburg branch of the NAACP, Reno Moore, Organizing Director of the Community Development and Training Center, and Esther Sanni, President of the St. Petersburg branch of the NAACP. Hi, Derek. I want to welcome you to the show today. First off, though, I'd like for you to introduce yourself to our viewers and our audience. Let us know what organization you are a part of and your role in that organization.
Sister Adrian Reddick, thank you so much for having me. This is an honor for me. How I feel about you, love you to death, as you are part of the wonderful sorority, the one that my wife was also a member of, Delta Sigma Beta Sorority Incorporated. So you just fall in the long line of political activism that your sorority has been showing for well over 100 years.
Yes.
You asked me to do this interview is something that I am honored to do. Like you said, my name is Derek Cooper, and I am the Political Action Chair of the NAACP St. Petersburg branch, 5130, and a proud son of South St. Petersburg. A lifelong advocate for our community, So I'm here. It's not just about the civil rights per se. It is about more than that. It's about economic justice. Right?
Yes.
It's about economic justice, and it's about community sovereignty, and it's also about generational wealth. So it's just bigger than just a protest.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Definitely. So thank you once again for having me. Our freedom has always meant owning our power.
Yeah.
It's always meant, controlling our money and building from within. So
definitely.
I'm here to help do my part to make sure that vision is furthered.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. We've been in this community a long time, right? We both grew up here in St. Pete. So one of the things I want to take a moment to ask you to do here is to share your family history here. And then I'd like you to speak from a generational standpoint or perspective on how the face of the community's retail landscape has changed over the decades, and how you see this tying into the national and local boycott movement in relation to that.
That is a great question. So my family, the Coopers and the Holmes, have been here well over 100 years.
Wow.
My grandparents came here from South Carolina. My grandfather went from South Carolina to Lake City to here, and my grandmother from Aiken, South Carolina, to here. So it was in the early 1900s, if you will. So my grandfather, Steve Cooper Sr., was one of the first Black landscapers in St. Petersburg. He owned a fleet of trucks. I think he owned 3 or 4 trucks. We're talking about in the 30s and the 40s. And I still talk to older gentlemen who remember my grandfather. They would call him Mr. Steve or Big Steve because he was Steve Cooper Sr. And then his children, which are my aunt Alice Cooper, my aunt Doretha Cooper, who later became Doretha Bacon, who owned the Doyle restaurants.
Yeah.
Doyle restaurants. And then their brothers, my dad, Steve Cooper Jr., and his brother, Buster Cooper, were both jazz musicians taught under the gentleman from Gibbs High School. His name escapes me. I do apologize.
No problem.
Taught everybody jazz, and before they left, Mr. Al Downing, Mr. Al.
Okay. Yeah, we know him.
Legendary jazz teacher Al Downing, and he was a Gibbs High School music teacher for a long time. Then they went to New York City, my dad and my uncle, and they became prominent jazz musicians in the jazz scene in the 50s. My father would be Apollo House Band, always his big band, and my uncle was with Duke Ellington for a while before they toured with Josephine Baker.
Okay.
They're part of her band as well. So I'm going to tell you how this ties in. My family has been fighting for social justice and equality for us through their music for years.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you know, jazz was a way to kind of cross those barriers.
Right.
Other cultures enjoyed our jazz.
Yes.
So my dad would tell me in the 50s, listen to this, Adrian, in the 50s going to Tokyo. and seeing the Japanese dressed up like the jazz greats of that time.
Wow.
Accepting our jazz. So they had to be accepted more so overseas first, and then they would come back and be accepted here in the States.
Okay.
My uncle, who played with Duke Ellington when apartheid was a part of Africa, South Africa. My uncle was in Sun City, a big resort in South Africa, and Duke Ellington protested and said, "We're not going to play here unless you allow the black servants to enjoy what we're doing as well." And they relented. They let that happen. So the point I'm making is they use music to push our equality. They would boycott and say, "Hey, we're not going to play our music if you don't allow us certain dignity and certain equality." So they were doing that for us well in the 50s. And then my dad were part of the Chitlin Circuit. As you know, St. Pete was part of the Chitlin Circuit. It would come down and play at the Manhattan Casino.
Manhattan Casino, yep.
With certain, they brought down, acts like, like a Duke Ellington, like a James Brown, like a B.B. King. And these artists would come to St. Pete, play at the Manhattan Casino. And that was something that also helped further along, our fight, right? For equality and for sovereignty, if you will. So my family has played a long history of standing up for what's right. So we just, as the children, we just continue in that vein.
Right.
They taught us a lot about how to treat people, how to fight for, be a voice for the voiceless. My aunt, when she owned her Doal restaurants, for years she would hire gentlemen coming out to work with these programs, giving them a leg up, getting them back acclimated in the community,
right?
Giving them words of wisdom and this, that, and the other, where other people would turn their back. So I was taught to reach down and to lift,
right,
as I climb, if you will.
Yes. Okay. All right. So you recently live streamed your participation in the event in front of the SNAX Food Store. So why did you feel it was important to attend?
Well, here's the thing. SNAX is just in a long line of stores that we pay attention to, but it's not about those stores. It's about what those stores represent.
Right.
So that store is a part of our community that has been lost. And let me explain. You asked earlier about the question about how I saw retail change in our communities growing up. And if you remember when we were little, Adrian, all the corner stores were owned by blacks.
They were.
Right. The Swintons owned
and still do.
And that owned the store here on 20th Street that we used to call Blackies.
Yep.
Mr. Bill Gregory used to own the store up on 18th Avenue and 19th Street. Mr. Epps had the Texaco. Used to go to Kronk's Bakery, remember Kronk's?
Yes.
And then everything on 22nd Street, of course, was thriving black-owned businesses. So we would go to different businesses that were black-owned for almost everything. And you don't see those little black-owned grocery stores anymore.
Right.
They're not at all. The thing about being black-owned was it was black dollars circulated back in our community because Mr. Bill Gregory and Mr. Sidney Harden were people that lived in our neighborhoods.
Right.
The Swintons lived in our neighborhoods. The Stacks lived in our neighborhoods. The dollar would come back and be reinvested, right?
Right.
Now, as we know, the dollar, because if you look at every corner store, that's not us that owns that.
Yeah.
But that dollar does not return back to us. That dollar goes out and it enriches others. So the protest of SNAX, and SNAX was the powder keg because they were very disrespectful to a lot of our patrons, a lot of patrons that went there. And someone recorded them being very disrespectful. And we just said enough was enough.
Okay.
So the reason we protested was not to them, but through them.
Right.
To let others know, they collect millions from us year after year collectively as these stores. And every dollar that leaves South St. Pete to enrich other families don't enrich us. Right? So what does that lead to? That leads to no respect, no dignity, no investment. And that's what there is. If you don't invest in our communities, you're disrespecting us basically.
Right.
So, we live stream because, transparency is power.
Definitely.
Listen, I come in the power of my elders, of my parents, the youth of this city. So now the world sees it basically. So, we are saying enough is enough. So if you want to disrespect the patrons that come to your community, to your store, and give them second-class treatment, but we're giving you first-class dollars.
Right.
So if I give you a first-class dollar, being hard-earned dollar,
Mm-hmm.
and you give me first-class treatment.
Exactly.
So the boycott wasn't really about the store. It was about breaking this cycle of exploitation. If you look on the South Side, all those corner stores are not owned by us. The shoe stores, the clothing stores, the little small grocery stores. And that's another thing, Adrian, that I want to bring out. When you go in those stores, there's not nutritious food there.
Correct.
There's not, or maybe some meat you can buy, or maybe some vegetables you can buy. It's a lot of sugary processed food. And so,
yeah, because we live in a food desert, basically.
absolutely.
At this point, right? There's nothing any longer. There's no Sweet Bay. There's no, whatever the grocery store was there on 18th. We had that. Now that's gone. It has been gone for a long time. And so this is the only source of maybe to get something, to eat quickly, possibly, right?
That's right. I mean, if you have to walk there, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least if you're going to walk there, have something that you can have at least nutritious, maybe, some chicken or some beef, and then vegetables that it can cook, something like that. Not just sugary snacks.
Right.
Hence the name, no pun intended. Not just sugary snacks and sodas and cookies and boiled peanuts, which, have been inundated with so much salt and what have you.
Correct.
So, yeah. So, back to what I was saying, we've just been exploited for too long. So, it just wasn't about once again, it wasn't about a protest. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It was about reclaiming our sovereignty, and we will no longer accept second class treatment. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what it was about.
Okay. So the last question I have for you, Derek, and I want to thank you because it's been a wealth of knowledge as we've been discussing here. And thank you for letting our viewers understand what exactly is happening, right? Do we see support coming from the community?
Absolutely. I was just talking to Reverend Chico Dowles at the protest, and he was serious about this, and I'm serious as well. He was about, it's not about the money. We have the money. We need the numbers, people. So you take 100 men, and they put aside $1,000. That's $100,000. That money can be used to collectively buy up pieces of land, or start a grocery store, or that's $100,000.
Right.
So we go to a community bank, or we go to an investment bank, or somebody that can take this money, put it in escrow, and use that as leverage, all of our leverage, as leverage to start our own grocery store. We have a wonderful garden there at Enoch Davis Center.
Yeah.
Enoch Davis Center, and that garden could be used to as a distribution point for vegetables, and as it is already.
Right.
Coming through the community. So yeah, we see a lot of support, and we see a lot of people, Adrian, not just talking about it, but ready to be about it.
Okay.
Ready to be about it. In this political climate, and what I love about you is you, as well as anybody, know the nature of this political climate.
Yes.
And 1,000 miles away.
Yeah,
what is happening, the erasure of our not just our history, but of our presence.
Right. Exactly.
Of our right now. Right. So people are starting to see, you know what? We need to go back to, and here's something else that people don't realize. Well, won't you guys do it for yourself? We've already done that.
Right.
88 plus black towns that were burned, like towns that were burned to the ground or flooded during Reconstruction to enact Jim Crow. So we need to go back to that, not start that, but go back to that premise of, you know what? It's going to take community investment. It's going to take community leadership and community know-how, because we know how to do this. We know how to build our own community. So oh yes, we've seen a lot of support. The energy is strong. The unity is real. There are a lot of people who we can go to politically, economically, religiously, and educationally. Those 4 things right there. And we can actually start not just a movement, but a new direction, right?
I like that. Yeah, a new direction.
A new direction. People are awakening. We're very excited about that. So yeah, you're going to see people with this new direction know that we cannot fall back into complacency.
Right.
Can't do it.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So there's definitely people who are waking up and say, you know what? It's time to do something. And unfortunately, what that means is that we might have to sever some ties with, people who are not part of our culture.
Right.
Now, let me explain what I mean by that, because again, I don't care if people get upset with that statement that I just made. The point I'm making is, if you look at every economic statistic, we're at the bottom of almost every economic statistic.
Definitely.
Right? There's an article that came out in 2017 that said by 2053, Black American median wealth be zero. Will be zero.
Wow.
By 2053, Black American median wealth. Now, what that means is, if the Black American median wealth is going to be zero by 2053, what is the Black diaspora wealth going to be?
Yeah. Right.
Negro. Because when we catch a cold, the Black diaspora catches the flu.
Yes. Pneumonia, basically.
Exactly. So, you and I both know, we both traveled together across different continents. Our plight, our passion is for our people here in America, Black family, and also the Black diaspora, right? Because there's certain uplift that must happen in that whole area, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if we don't understand that we have to come together economically, if we don't understand that politically as well, then these things will happen. Mm-hmm. Now, after COVID, they came back and they did a revision of the article, and they said it's going to be by 2043.
Oh, wow. So they reduced it.
Because of all the economic power we lost during COVID.
Yeah.
The Black businesses that went out of business during COVID.
Yeah.
So many went out of business. And it's not talked about. It's pushed on the rug. You just saw they just let go 300,000 Black women in the United States government job sector.
Yeah.
So what is that also doing? It's eliminating the chance for generational wealth as well, or at least trying to.
Right.
So this is something what the point I'm making is, we're always at the bottom of the barrel, and then we always want to try to know. We can't include everybody on this one because we need to catch up.
Right.
We need to catch up. So when I say we have to break ties economically, politically, that's exactly what I mean. And we cannot care about feelings getting hurt, because our feelings have always been hurt.
Right.
And every time we come together as multicultures, we always get the short end of the stick.
Yeah. Very true.
Every time. So no offense to anybody else, but it's time out. We have to make ground. Mm-hmm. And until we make ground, we can't include everybody in the kumbaya type of atmosphere. We have to make ground first. Leave us alone. Let us make ground, because we can do this. Just our article the other day that a lot of Black millionaires have been made during this political climate, because they have turned inside and said, you know what we need to do for ourselves. Yeah. So we can do that. We can do that like we did before, doing Reconstruction, like we did before they put the dome into the gas plant district.
Right. Well, and let's talk about that, right? You just said, leave us alone. Well, that's the key. Leave us alone and let us do what we're going to do. But that's not always what happens, right?
Well, it's never been what happened, because we've always been watched to make sure that we don't progress too far.
Correct.
And if we progress too far, we'll just burn it down.
Right.
That's always been the case.
Yep.
Think about it. After slavery, we had all the skills. Mm-hmm. So we left our own devices. We started our own Black towns.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't integrate.
Exactly.
Those towns were thriving.
Yeah.
And then out of that, you got the HBCUs.
Yeah.
You and I are both alum of.
Yes.
And you have this skill set, because most of those HBCUs were normal schools or ag schools, like one institution, Florida A&M University. They were ag schools, and they got land for agriculture to teach the free children of slaves, of the enslaved. They weren't slaves, they were enslaved.
Right.
To teach the free children of the enslaved, here's what you do now with all of your skill. We had the carpetsmith, we had the farmers, we had the people who could do gardens, seamstress, we had all of that. So we're thriving during Reconstruction. Thriving. Matter of fact, Black Wall Street, they had airplanes.
Yes.
They had private airplanes. So every time we were thriving, of course, the government, which was a white supremacist government, would always make sure, no, you got to come down to pay. You can't surpass us. What are you doing here? Yeah. What are you doing? So we're always going to be watched. Yeah. Just understand that. But with enough economic power, we can stave off the attacks, right, of the economic attack, because at the end of the day, enough money will make people see straight. Yeah. And they might hate us, but that's okay. Our economic power would say, hey, either we're going to do business the correct way or not at all. Right. We do it for ourselves. And I harken back to Carlisa Wilson, the miseducation of the Negro. He was very adamant about us having our own businesses within our own communities. And yeah, we can do business with other nationalities because they do business with us.
Right.
But it has to be on equal footing and has to be, we don't get the short end of the stick.
Correct. Well, this has been very informative. It has been a great session. Thank you so much for coming on today, Derek, and giving us your insight. It's very valuable. We know that you and your family are huge pillars in this community. So we appreciate all that you do. And we just thank you for joining us today and educating our viewers on what's happening in the community.
Well, I thank you as well, Adrian, and listen, and let people know, and they know already, you are a strong advocate for our community, not just our community here, but our communities all across the United States and all across the diaspora. We both have traveled to Africa.
Yeah.
With our groups. We've done it for a vacation and pleasure. We also went to be more informed.
Correct.
How to help with businesses, how to start businesses, how to reach across the continents, if you will, with our Black brothers and sisters to help them as well. And we've done some of that.
Yeah.
Some of that. And we just need to do more of that because at the end of the day, again, the diaspora being whole and healthy is a winning formula for everybody.
Exactly. Well, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. And let me just say, go Wildcats.
Rattlers. Thank you. Welcome to the Pulse podcast by the Power Broker Media Group. So if you could please introduce yourself to our audience, let us know what organization you represent and your position. So I'll start with Esther Sanni.
Good evening, everyone. Esther Sanni, president of the St. Petersburg branch NAACP.
Thank you. Reno?
Peace and light, everyone. It's your brother Reno Moore. I am the organizing director for the Community Development and Training Center, better known as CDAT. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to both of you. So let's jump into it. So Reno, based on our research, the person who sparked this boycott of snacks is a young woman named Carlisa Wilson. So can you give us some basic facts around exactly what's happening with the SNAX Food Store boycott? And can you give our audience some background around it?
Basic facts around the protest itself. Its inception was an ongoing situation in our community. A disrespect of all of us, not just the children, not just the men, and especially our women. And so one of our women used our voice, Sister Carlisa, that she was being disrespected verbally. And when it went around, it kind of triggered a lot of people and got a big reaction. And like enough's enough energy around the continuation of disrespect from the visitors to our community.
Okay. Thank you for that. We just want to make sure we understand exactly what happened and what led up to it. So, Esther, I know that you attended recently the event that was live streamed by the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club and Brother John Muhammad. Why did you feel it was important to attend?
Well, I think I want to go back a little bit. So when I was in Africa back in September, my daughter, Deshawn, had reached out to me. It was about 2:00 a.m. time there, and she mentioned that something was going on at SNAX. Had I seen it. At the time, I was locked out of my Facebook, so I was unable to see what was going on. I asked her to send it to me. When she sent it, what she communicated to me is that there had been massive levels of disrespect by the owner of this gas station to those in our community, and the level of disrespect had escalated to a point where it was being levied against not only the adults but the children. And so I immediately put together just a statement for her to put on social media. And then I came back the second week of October. I believe I was hearing some additional things that were taking place, but it was when I saw David Jackson, and I don't know if I should mention his name, but David Jackson is long-standing voice in the community, has a business on 16th Street, but he put up a post that said that he needed all of us to show up at 6 o'clock, I believe it was, or 7 o'clock on 9th Street on this particular date. And typically, I know that David does not lean into spaces unless it is directly affecting the community. So although I did not know exactly what was going on, I knew that I was going to show up simply because he put it out there. And it was when I showed up that I now saw that it was the same situation that was going on, but that it had escalated, and then it was communicated to me while I was there that something had transpired with Reno a couple days before, and I was able to garner all of the information. For me, and what is consistent when I think about community and how we show up, when one attacks one, they attack all. Because again, when you disrespect one, you disrespect all. And it was very clear that not only did I need to lean in support, but just as a Black female in this community, I needed to be there, and that's why I showed up.
Okay, so Reno, I know that Esther was saying there was more that happened. Is there any more that you want to tell us about that escalation?
Yeah. Also, let me just go back when Esther was mentioned the hair store. I thought she was talking about another protest, and so I was talking about. I thought she was going to mention the one on 34th Street that had taken place across the street from the old St. Pete Times, that nail salon, because everybody wants to be us, and if we're disrespecting our women, then other people gonna do the same thing. And so,
Exactly.
I understood the protest that Esther is talking about. I mean, that's just simply me going out there because I seen Uhaul trucks, lights on, and I was just simply making a video to remind everyone that, yes, we're done with the sidewalk protest, but remember our grandparents held the line for 381 days for seats on buses. And so we can be very patient as we take them down. We're not the ones on the sidewalks that's the protesters. It's actually all you guys that are participating by not coming in, because our generation haven't really protested that much. So we're teaching them in real time a lot of what's going on, what they're doing right now. The first day out there on that protest, you kind of already hear me alluding to men disrespecting our women. And so I had to this protest has grown largely with my insight, to be honest. Because this is how we got through this as a nation 100 years ago. They allowed the chaos to happen as if school closing and church and closing was a new concept. And so the things that happened 100 years ago when they gave out loans and they did this, that, and the third, but they also restarted our government by 1933. And that's why my grandmother bragged about being one of the first generation of people to get a Social Security card. But when we're being political, what was being created then? America was being redone. And this same play is being done to us 100 years later. We're going to a digital currency. But the thing that allowed us to be here right now and have a meeting like we're having right now is that 100 years ago, it was Black ownership in the Black community. We have all stood in line and as individuals. But what I'm leading us back to is a group. This is a group exercise. We are fighting people as individuals, and they are in groups. They have think tanks. So 100 years ago, it was Black ownership. We have to go back to that. And so I did a timeline the first day out there to everybody. We all grew up here in the Webb Plaza story.
Yeah.
Right. They became professional people with our money. Now, through the movies, they were showing the disrespect that we were receiving from them. It was hurry up and buy. And so they got so suave politically that they just used money from our hair stores and our corner stores. And so on the first day of the protest, I said, hey, everyone, the Black dollar is the secret sauce that is enriching everybody that we're going to use now,
Very true. Very, very true.
We like these people.
Yeah.
We don't like them when they first came in our community in the early 90s. We started hearing the government was giving them grants to get these stores away from in our communities. But we like them now, right? But we love each other, right? We don't hate each other this much to allow this much money. And so I started using insight. We're building Black Wall Street in real time. But Black Wall Street got built because those Black folks that was over there owned the oil up under their feet. And so that's what enriched them to create those hospitals and those banks that we're looking at 100 years later. Okay, so we got to go back and look at this stuff.
Yeah.
And so yes, what corner stores making on an average between $4 million a year, and gas stations making more than that. Then I stood on that corner on the 14th day of the protest. And so the first day I said we built Dubai. It was opium, it was gas, and it was our corner store and house store. They are literally us in the community. They have the gas stations. They have Carlisa in our community. They have everything that we are without us supporting each other. And so it's about creating it so we can see it. We're done with the hate. And we're using my gift together to get us back together. It's a good thing. I'm talking us and back to loving each other. Let's get rich. You know what I was saying on the Breakfast Club at the end of the show, the entire 2020 was it's our responsibility to make each other rich on purpose. And I'm still in that frequency right now. And I'm just one of the city's cheerleaders, cheering everybody on to let's get out the hate and let's get more into the love and make each other rich on purpose.
Okay. All right. So speaking of that then, Esther, let's talk about the NAACP and what is going on at a state level around the Black Consumer Advisory.
All right. So I would say that what has been a focal point is really pushing what it looks like locally in our individual areas as Black-owned businesses, and then how can we be very intentional with uplifting and supporting in that space. The conversations that we've been having, even as we're looking to schedule quarterlies and schedule meetings and such, is how can we uplift Black-owned businesses? How can we right-size what has been downsized with a very intentional thumb on that space? What Reno said, what stood out, and a piece of what Reno said to me is the fact that we have invited these businesses into our communities. And in essence, while inviting them in, we're pushing out our Black-owned businesses.
Right.
We will very intentionally support other businesses and complain about supporting our Black-owned businesses. And how do we reverse that? Because there was a time where that was not the case. And so those are the conversations that are taking place. How do we ensure, and not just ensure, but be very intentional with the uplift and the support? There was something that I saw at the state level, and I pushed it out on social media. Black Friday was a very intentional title of something, but why don't we use it for us? Black Friday is to uplift Black businesses
Right.
on this Friday and every Friday for that matter. And just being very intentional with how we move with our footprints in that space.
Yeah. And speaking of that, we had a few national movements right around boycotting. Of course, we know the main one, what we did was Target. We just had that We Ain't Buying It campaign that was around after Black Friday through Cyber Monday. So, Reno, I think one of the things that I would want to talk about is kind of tying that in, right? Is this more of a community-wide level, or is this, I know we're specifically talking about snacks, but are we looking at how we are doing this? Do we have the same energy around the local efforts, or mainly was this more of a store specific for snacks?
So the numbers that got calculated is when I stood out there on in the protest and counted 42 corner stores in our community, right? Because I'm saying that they're saying that they're making about $4 million a year. Now, what I did not count is, just so you can have numbers, what I didn't count, for example, to my knowledge, the 7-Eleven inside Coquina Key. I ain't count that one. All right. But like, I counted our corner stores, you know what I'm saying? And they're making $4 million a year. Well, that's $168 million a year that we're allowing to leave South St. Petersburg. None of us who are on nonprofits, all of our nonprofits in our city are not bringing in that much money. That's how important this is. All of us together do not bring in $168 million a year. That's how done with grant writing we are with this move, because we are intentionally saying with the math, y'all got to understand something. The numbers I'm giving y'all, I had to find the math, right? It's $4 million a year. Okay, it's 42. That's simple math. We are funding only the 42 stores in South St. Pete, and we're going at them. We're going at them because they are the low hanging fruit. They ain't even the other people. But we're saying that in 6 years, these people are bringing in $1.6 billion. We are done intelligent begging. We done, I call grant writing intelligent begging, because you can't be a moron and get no grant. You got to be somebody smart.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get that work. You got to put them words together. But look what we doing. We fall back in love with each other. When we fall back in love with each other, then biggest money making machine for everybody else starts being created. It's 160 a year just leaving South St. Pete from our corner stores. We have not counted our grocery stores yet. We have not counted the money that our banks that we giving to other people. And so, yes, we are creating Black Wall Street here. We're starting with our corner stores. And then what happens, for an example, when Atwater's was making so much money, they had to jam a lot. So yes, we're back rich again. We're back reinvesting and popping businesses in our community again. Then it's time to enter it the right way and get the right people in the war. Well, the nice people gotta be the intelligent people doing stuff for us in the back, like inventing stuff. Can't be the voice of Black people no more. The same time Martin Luther King was there for Black folks, he died with a wife that was pregnant, and Malcolm X died with a wife that was pregnant too. It's just trying to change the guard. We can't have the same football coach on the team and we losing this long. It's just time to change the guard. And the guard is saying, hey, I don't care what Black leader you respect, go look at their quote on unity so we can get to that. See, because I'm not that smart. I actually then I am that smart because everybody I've ever studied all said we have to unify. So I've done one thing since 2012 on social media, try to wake up my city so we can get one thing, think on a higher level to get to work. But at large, I'm using our education. I'm talking to most people who only think from their education. And so that's what you got to understand. When they are our programmer, when they are the producer of our thoughts through their education, you're using their thought process to produce thoughts. I'm not doing that. The power, you guys, of self-education, not more of their degrees. It makes us unconsciously think in their interests. That's why we can get jobs and solve their problems. If all of us on this video right now go get a degree in psychology, we are learning how to think like white men, not like how we think. Their classical music is not our classical music. My grandma, man, was B.B. King, not in that 50-year marriage she was in. It was B.B. King. That's classical music. Right. Nat King Cole is classical for us. So it's time to go back to being us again. We are unconsciously them. That's why we're solving their problems and still trying to appeal to their interests. Those days are over with. We're making each other rich on purpose, and we're being unapologetic about it right now. We gotta get out of fear. We gotta get out of fear. As Black men, we gotta go back to protecting y'all. Y'all are a smarter teammate. But when we don't know that y'all are a smarter teammate, then we trying to dominate y'all. It's not our job to dominate y'all. They are playing the game on us, so we gotta play the game at a better level. So that means we change the guards then. We change leadership. And that don't mean that the leadership that was there for all these years are just non and void. Go invent something, because we all got a job to do. So that's why I raise the voice of Black power right now. You know, Black power always about unifying.
Got you. So finally, Esther, I know that a few community leaders voiced that we need an organized approach if it's going to be effective. Do you agree? And do we see those efforts taking shape?
Right. You know, I think about the conversations that Jess and I've had about what it looks like to really be intentional with grassroots organization. I believe that what Rito said as it related to reaching for those individuals that are militant and being clear and concise on what their focus is important. But I feel that it also can be married to the tried and true method of grassroots organization, and then being very intentional with that push. What was clear back then that I think is not clear now is the push for individuals to get from behind their computers and get from behind their phones and get out into the community and uplift your voice in the spaces that they need to be uplifted. You can sit on social media and people are righteously upset about all of what's taking place. And then when you say us here at this time on this day, they're not coming out, right? How can we marry the two to get them to push, to get from behind those laptops, computers, and phones and get out and uplift their voices? Because what I do know to be true is one voice is powerful, 10 voices are even more so, 100 voices will shut all things down, and 1,000 even more so. And so how do we do that with that tried and true method, but with the militant and the very clear, as Reno said, Black power voices with strength and true intention, pushing that forward?
Yeah.
You know what I found? Excuse me, Adrian. You know, painting that picture of Black men, that fear. Because when they say in psychology, if you can't admit the problem, then you can't get over it. Until that was a hard thing I did in my beginning of my journey, to admit that we were scared of them, right? That was very difficult. Yeah, but they gunning our women down, and we were standing in line and protesting. But we got data that they broke us up out of jails when they women lied on us and said that we raped them. So I understood that there was a high level of fear being going on, and I had to remove it out of myself. So in my beginning, you know, I had to, that was the Michael Jackson song I had to sing in front of company back then. It was called Man in the Mirror. And so I install myself and remove the fear from them myself. That's why that voice like that right there. And that's why they come to me all in our city and say, I like what you be saying, man. But hey, man, you been watching what you got saying. I don't know none of us that's gonna come here to live forever.
So I'm just gonna end on this. How can people support? What can we do? I know that we've seen, folks being out when we've asked for it, but what can they do? How can we get involved?
So I would say stay tuned, man. Just keep following the pages that the people that you're following right now that you've been getting your information from. There are talks right now in the community with the Black Money Movement. The cash mob is what we're doing right now. That's a place for New Era Detroit. But locally, I will give credit to people locally. When I first got involved with insurance, they were calling it Act Right around here. They were showing up. I seen it on 22nd Street on the Deuces. They had WRSB in the building. He was on the phone, live on the radio, and they were putting money into Black businesses intentionally. And they say all they want the Black business to do is to act right. New Era Detroit call it cash mob. Show up and intentionally infuse Black dollars into a Black business. Absolutely.
I want to thank you both so very much. This was a much needed conversation. Our goal here is to educate the community about what's happening and so that we can get involved. So I want to thank you all very much for your time this evening.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.